As with all things, everyone has their own opinion, and one gaming topic I've noticed lately that no one can agree on is when the next Mass Effect game should take place, what galaxy it should be in, and even who should be in it. I am Bon, and today I am going to look at some responses to a Mass Effect subreddit post I made about what people's personal hope is, broken down into various categories like time frame, canon choices made, and so on for the next Mass Effect game. For the too long didn't watch, basically no one has the same idea, and it seems that bias clouds people's hopes pretty clearly, and that I do not want to be one of the people who decides where things go on the BioWare side. So let's jump into some of the responses. We'll look at those, and then I'll kind of give my take on them. So we start off with the post here. I will point out something I found kind of funny / interesting. This post has 2,300 views, 0 upvotes. It has a 50-50, so 50-50 have upvoted and downvoted, so it leaves it at 0, but 23 comments. So topics like this tend to not do well on this subreddit because, as we'll see, there's a lot of people who want the game to go a certain direction, and I think there's more people who don't want that, but they didn't respond. It's funny. These gaming subreddits are just goofy. So as you'll see from my post, I laid out time frame, galaxy, canon set, antagonist, protagonist, OG crew, and Shepard with question marks. And basically just said, hey, give me your ideas. Please don't bicker and fight, because these things go that way pretty quickly in most in much of the subreddit and most gaming subreddits. And I kind of mentioned that I'm going to do this video. So we'll scroll down. The first one here is mine. That I'd be curious to see the stat breakdown for this, because it only has 4 upvotes. I suspect this is the result of many up and down votes. So mine is, and if you've listened to my podcast or watched any of my Mass Effect videos, this shouldn't come as any surprise. So time frame right after Mass Effect 3, galaxy Milky Way, canon set, destroy ending, genophage cured, peace between the Geth and Corians, and the Rachni saved. The antagonist being the remains of the Initiative. That's the company that sent the Andromeda mission to the Andromeda galaxy. That went into hiding after launching the Andromeda mission and has reemerged in the post-Reaper War, it should have said galaxy, to try to fill the power void left by the Citadel races being decimated by the Reapers. The protagonist, the prologue, has us helping Liara as a new character explore the post-Reaper War galaxy, trying to help assess the situation when we get an urgent message from the Sol System Alliance forces saying he's awake. When we go, this is when we go on one last ride with Shepard and crew with new faces, including the character that we created, as we investigate the Initiative's intentions, recover ancient advanced tech from dead Reapers, and investigate signs that there may be living Geth or Geth databases that could help the Alliance and the Citadel species get ahead of the race to redevelop new AI. Will there be OG crew? Yes. Major players like Liara, Garrus, Tali, Rex, Joker, and others that will at least appear in the game, but may not all be recruitable. And will there be Shepard? Yes. After a prologue, we get one last run with Shepard, and the game ends with a satisfying handoff to a new protagonist being one of the new crewmates as Shepard finally retires or sacrifices themselves. So I didn't really I should have clarified it better, that one of the new crewmates would be one that you design, and it's who you play as in the prologue, and then maybe at the end, like an epilogue or something like that as well. But for me personally, this is sounds exciting. So the first response here is time frame 500 years after ME3, galaxy Milky Way. Canon set happy ending mod. Yes, seriously, F the Star Child, which I found kind of funny. Antagonist determined the system since they were untouched by the Reaper War. Protagonist, a freelancer, race of your choice, OG crew, Liara and Grunt, and Shepard. You meet descendants of Shepard and how this new galaxy remembers them. Shouldn't say her because people. This is actually a good example of how I do it all the time. I call Shepard him all the time because that's my Shepard of choice, and I don't actually fault people for doing this because everyone has their own idea. Maybe in idol, I'm assuming this is idol worship, which Shepard would definitely in the post Reaper War galaxy attain, at least to some people, almost like a godlike status from saving the galaxy. So a decent number of the ideas kind of follow this path of there's a lot of people who want the next game to take place 500-600 years later so that it can include Andromeda. I'm pretty mixed on that. I think they need to eventually get back to Andromeda, but I think they need to have a game or two before that to kind of set the franchise back on track, so that they can do a big change like that. But we'll see. This actually doesn't mention that though. This talks about the bad guys being from the Terminus system, which I believe was not technologically advanced enough to be attacked by the Reapers in the trilogy. And a freelancer race of your choice. There's been a lot of discussions about being able to pick what race the protagonist or your character will be in the next game. I would argue that Mass Effect is a story told from a human perspective about the human experience in the galaxy with all these new races and species and all that. But to each their own. The OG crew being Liara and Grunt, still seeing them. The 500 years thing works with that because Grunt could live for a couple thousand years. He could be involved in the game no matter when it takes place, essentially. Liara would in theory have a 1,000 to 1,500 year lifespan past the trilogy, so that works as well. And Rex as well could be in there, but who knows. And then Shepard, the Descendants thing. Yeah, I mean, if they do a big time skip, I think we'll at least see some references to Shepard, potentially relatives. If they canonize Liara and Shep's relationship, there could be children very easily that could be alive for an extremely long time. But yeah, so not mine, but not a bad one here. Another one here, time frame 1 year prior to the events of Mass Effect 2, location Omega, protagonist Archangel, who is Garrus, plot devastated by the death of Shepard. So essentially what they're saying here is a prequel to Mass Effect 2. I would consider this more of a spin-off. If they made the whole next game essentially a spin-off, I think people will be pretty mad. That would be a pretty big departure. Lessons not learned from Andromeda, as well as the couple teasers we do have so far. So I think this is more of a DLC wish from old Sasquatch here, but that's okay. Ninja Master here. Time frame 600 years after Mass Effect 3, Galaxy, Milky Way, and Andromeda. Oh boy, here we go. Canon set, destroy ending, Shep lives, cure genophage, Quarry and Geth peace, even though the Geth will die in the destroy ending, but I think there's something to be said about that. Rachni alive, Leviathan found. Protagonist Shepard, antagonist not sure yet, maybe Leviathan, maybe the rest of the Ket, who are the antagonists in Andromeda. OG crew, only some, Liara, Grunt, Tali, Garrus. I'll explain the last two. Okay, here's the plot. Shepard survives destroy ending, but their injuries are too severe to be truly healed. Doctors believe losing Shepard would be too big a loss, so they cryo-freeze them until they have the technology to cure them, similar to Alec Ryder's wife in Andromeda. So the Ryder twins' his mother, which we get that big twist at the end of the game. Liara and Grunt are, of course, still alive 600 years later, with Grunt having been groomed by Rex to lead the Krogan, and Liara having dedicated her life to finding a way to cure Shepard. seems in character for her as an extension of what she does after Mass Effect 1. Most of Shep's friends move over to Mass Effect 3, except for two that could never leave their side. Tali and Garrus elect to also be put in cryo and woke up when Shepard is. Yes, this is just fan service, but why not? LMAO, I can appreciate that. Shepard wakes up alongside Tali and Garrus from cryo 600 years later after ME3 finally healed to a fully rebuilt Milky Way. They learned from Liara that through studying what was left of the Reapers and their technology, Council races are on the cusp of being able to create their own mass relay, and they aim to use connecting themselves to the Andromeda Initiative. Boom, stories are connected in the most fan servicey way possible. So I personally hate the idea of connecting the galaxies, if I have to be totally honest. But I will say this is one of the more compelling ways of doing it I've seen, and the admitted fan service part of it is cool. As much as I would love to see Tali and Garrus in the next game, if there's a big time jump, I kind of hope they don't, because again, kind of as they mentioned, it's a little too fan servicey, even for me, even as a Talimancer, as I would self-identify as. But this isn't the worst idea I've ever seen, and not even trying to pretend to know what the antagonist would be here is fair. I really think the next game doesn't have to have an antagonist. I think the next game can, the messed up post Reaper War situation could be the antagonist. So yeah, the Ninja Master, not a bad idea there. Next one, time frame 5 to 10 years post ME3. The galaxy recovered from the immediate devastation of the Reaper War, but is now facing problems when civilizations are trying to reclaim their lost glory. Galaxy Milky Way, but they should still consider Mass Effect Andromeda in some way, such as the Benefactor or the Andromeda's Initiative's investors. Canon set, Perfect Destroy. Antagonist, a whole new threat, but there should be side plots exploring conflicts between species and the slow rise of the Leviathans. Protagonist, Shepard, but it would be cool to be able to control some squad mates for small parts of big missions. OG crew, yep, at least bring back the iconic four, Garrus, Tali, Liara, and Rex. And Shepard, Rex, or Shepard. Yeah, this is cool. This very much serves my whole thing. It's similar to what I guess I was kind of saying as well. I like this idea that I think that they can involve Mass Effect Andromeda without the galaxy. I think it's easy to forget, or if you didn't play Andromeda, that the person who was in charge of the initiative, who did the Andromeda mission, has never been identified, and I believe is assumed to still be in the Milky Way after the Andromeda mission launches. The Andromeda mission involves like 5 or 6 of these arcs and the Nexus, which are these like impossibly large ships and infrastructure. And so to build all of that in the Milky Way before they launched it would have taken like literally hundreds of thousands of people and trillions of credits or dollars of investment in infrastructure. So my whole thing has been for a while, and it's the reason I have the initiative as the antagonist in mind, is that they would have a lot left. And if anything, I would imagine they would be trying to bunker down before the events of Mass Effect 3 to try to just ride it out and hope that they can make it through, or that we find a way to defeat the Reapers, or if not, then the Andromeda mission succeeds. So yeah, I don't hate this. This is very fan servicey to me. At the time when this was posted originally, it was downvoted a decent amount. That's why this person responded about the subreddit being pathetic and downvoting anything that wants Shepard back. Now, what you'll notice is most of the top voted posts right now have Shepard coming back. So I think that there's like a vocal minority who doesn't want Shepard back and kind of attacks that. And I kind of responded in the same light. So it's fine. So here's another one, completely new story, all new characters, 2,000 years into the future. That way Shepard's story is whatever. It wants to be different characters, all this. So I've seen people basically saying this, that if you jump ahead 600 or even 1,000 or 2,000 years, they don't have to pick canon endings. I don't think that's true. I think that the differences between the destroy ending, control, and synthesis wouldn't all meet to the same resolution 2,000 years later. I think that they would all lead to very drastically different stories. And so I appreciate this idea, but I don't think it's fair. And then this person down here says, you know, hopefully Dragon Age 4 does well, or else they're going to shut BioWare down. I would argue pretty heavily that Dragon Age 4 is probably kind of a known commodity to EA, and I suspect that the next Mass Effect is probably much more of a measuring stick, but we'll see. This one here, time frame 50 to 200 years in the future, galaxy Milky Way, canon set, destroy ending, antagonist, no clue, fair enough. Protagonist, someone new. OG crew, yes, but only some of them, and only cameos like some of the crew from ME2 have in ME3, Zaid, Jack, and Kasumi. Shepard, yes, EA won't let the opportunity pass to sell us on nostalgia. And so I think ME4 will be in pretty much what I want. So it's 2 for 1. Yeah, I mean, I think this is all fairly reasonable. You know, it's fairly basic, but this is kind of what I was saying as well, is that even if they set the game right after the events of Mass Effect 3, I think that they will kind of play off this nostalgia card a bit by having Liara, maybe Garrus and Tali and Rex involved. But if we see characters, you know, basically everyone else, it will be in some kind of cameo role, or as, you know, like so-and-so has taken over, you know, as the leader for this thing now, and we deal with them in that capacity, kind of like Rex in Mass Effect 2 and 3. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of down my idea as well. This person just says, I want multiplayer. Fair enough. Doesn't seem like multiplayer was that big in Mass Effect 3, but the people who loved it are really still jonesing for it. But it's still there if they want to play it. Time frame for this one, 600 years after Mass Effect 3, galaxy Milky Way, canon set, destroy ending with secret Shepard living ending, which is called the perfect ending by most. Most characters would die of old age. Liara is clearly alive. I think Grunt would be alive too. Yeah, his status is kind of weird because he was born fully grown, so he's a clone of or kind of like a modified clone of a character who was really old. So yeah, it's actually a good question. Antagonist, I can't think of one. Maybe just infighting in the species. Maybe the Krogan start to get aggressive. Yeah, I think that's a fair. I think the antagonist of the next game, no matter when it takes place, is probably going to be the conflict amongst the galaxy as everyone tries to rebuild. And so I think that's a fair statement. Protagonist, a new human. Liara is still the Shadow Broker, but isn't part of the squad. Grunt is part of the squad. Pretty much every other known character would be dead. Yeah, if this is 600 years later. Fair enough. See, this one, time frame 70, 90 years after the Reaper War, Milky Way, control ending. Shepard is slowly going insane from being the Reaper mind. Also, without the Reaper threat, the Leviathan species is working towards behind the scenes. That's the antagonist. Protagonist. Game starts out with an Alliance Batarian War, and you pick the faction's perspective you start with. OG crew, Liara, Legion 2.0, Rex, Reeve, ED 2.0. Shepard, sort of in the sense that everyone comments on how similar you are to Shepard as their spiritual successor, sort of like the Chosen One in Fallout 2. You could import your Shep from previous Mass Effect, character design only. Also possibly allowing you to talk to Shepard as a Reaper mind, monitor your dick. Okay. This isn't my, I don't like control ending, but honestly, this is one of the more creative opinions I've seen. That isn't necessarily what I would prefer, but cool. Time frame 600 to 700 years after Mass Effect 3, galaxy Milky Way, and maybe a more explored Andromeda. Canon set, none. Choosing a canon ending ruins the core foundation of the original trilogy. Destroy, control, and synthesis should all be equally viable. Setting a new game hundreds of years later should help alleviate the drastic differences and allow for a similar status quo across each path. Antagonist, anyone or anything, as long as they're interesting in a smaller scale than the Reapers, that's fair. Protagonist, someone new, OG crew, Liara and Grunt, if they survive the trilogy, maybe Rex too. Not sure how old he was. I believe he's like 2,000 years old or more in the trilogy, even though they may never actually specify that. Shepard, they shouldn't appear in the game unless, of course, you went with control. Speaking to the Shepard Harbinger would be very interesting. Beyond that, Shepard memorial statue somewhere in the Citadel would be a nice touch. Fair. That being said, I feel like the next Mass Effect game will have us playing as a Shepard clone. I'm not entirely against the idea because it could work. Another Shepard trying to live up to the real one. Combine that with the possibility of speaking to Shepard Harbinger, and it could be neat. I prefer a new character though. Shepard's story is told, and it's time to move on. Yeah, this is a pretty common thread amongst people. I think it's a lot of people who have been around the series since it started, and they're just kind of tired of Shepard. And I get it. I'm newer to the series. I want more Shepard, and I don't think his story's been told, or their story has been told. I think there is a lot more that could be said, and that's even hinted in Mass Effect 3, but in some conversations at the end of the game with Garrus. The canon ending thing, I think, is an interesting discussion because I don't think it's possible to. My argument has been there's a lot of talk about if they pick a canon ending, it ruins the game for like a big chunk of the people who didn't pick those endings, which is fair. My thing though is that I think generalizing the game and the story to make it where all three choices essentially don't matter. See, either way, you're dismissing the endings that either that they pick or the ones that don't get picked for canon. Because I would argue that if they hand wave the endings and say, you know, all of the endings ended up in the same place, so none of your choices were dismissed. Well, they were. If anything, I find that more insulting than if they just picked a canon and went all in on it. So that's kind of my take on that. But this is kind of what I think a lot of the people who are big Andromeda fans, or people who have been around forever and are just kind of sick of Shepard, this is the kind of common thread I've noticed. So. And then this last one is a bit radical, but Mass Effect Reset. As the name implies, a full reboot, basically undo everything the first 4 games have done, restart the same species, organization, and basic lore premise, but different characters, different story, and different enemies. So Milky Way, no canon set, new antagonist, new protagonist, no crew, no Shepard. Part of it feels like everything the other games have done. This would actually be a good decision because it gets rid of a lot of the expectations set by previous entries. I mean, sure, but you might as well just make a new game at that point now. So there it is. There's the responses to that thread I made. Well, it seems like there's little to no agreement on what should happen in the next game. I do appreciate that everyone is passionate about their idea, and I'm sure folks at BioWare are happy to see people keeping the game in their mind share at the very least. So to wrap this thing up, thank you very much for watching the video. If you have your own ideas or what you want, please leave them down in the comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, be notified of new videos by hitting the bell, and maybe check out some of my other content, such as my gaming podcast, The EchoCast, which is on all podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, and this very YouTube channel. Also, check out my stream over at twitch.tv/BondDiesel. I am at BondDiesel on Twitter and almost everywhere else on the internet. And that's all I have. So until next time.
Missing someone.